Good evening. You know, if I ever get off my fat ass to go exploring, one of the places I would like to visit is the quaint village of Idar Oberstein, Germany. Ah, Idar Oberstein. The clear mountain streams flowing into the Neher River, the lofty castles, the hearty food and delicious local beer, the colorful village homes, friendly people, and rolling hills. But more on that later. I actually wanted to talk about a real explorer, the explorer's explorer, a man of fearless endeavor and countless adventures. If Indiana Jones was real and not fictional, he would look at this guy and say, "Holy crap, goddamn, this guy is amazing." Of course, I'm talking about none other than Frederick Albert Mike Mitchell Hedges. No, that's not, here he is. Oh, he may not look like much, but trust me, he saw himself as quite the man's man. He himself once said,
"I craved excitement, and where I lived, there were no fierce animals, no hostile savages, not even a few poisonous snakes. I longed to test my nerve." Frederick
Hedges has been described by many people as being a real-life Indiana Jones. Only instead of hitting Nazis in the face with a bullwhip, Hedges puffed on a sweet pipe and spoke in a heavy British accent. If you read about this dude's insane adventures traveling the globe, discovering lost cities and ancient artifacts and arm-wrestling giant man-eating gorillas in the uncharted jungles of Central America, it would be hard to dispute that claim. Born in 1882 in Buckinghamshire, young Fred, or Mike to his friends, was pretty much an unruly bastard right from the beginning. His stiff and proper father wanted him to get into the boring-ass family stockbrokering business, but Hedges was the kind of guy who would rather be hurling primitive wooden spears at 10-foot-tall scorpions and fist-fighting an angry tribe of head-shrinking witch doctors and using a flimsy vine to swing over alligator-infested ponds. Not sitting at a desk all day trying to figure out whether to buy 50 shares of fucking coffee or 25 shares of ladies' corsets. So, after getting thrown in jail for a fight started over tossing ice down the front of an extremely busty barmaid, it was off to the good old USA for Fast Hand Freddy. He knocked around all over America until he found himself in Mexico, fighting alongside Pancho Villa and his band of merry men. After being shot twice in the leg while robbing a train, Mike, after a time, found his way in New York, where he rented an apartment with none other than Russian revolutionary Leon Trotsky. It was at this time that he adopted a good friend's orphaned daughter, Anna, and taking Anna by the hand, they sailed off, back to jolly old England, where he promptly ran into an old friend, Lady Richmond Brown, who had oodles of cash and offered to fund crazy-ass adventures to exotic locales. Making a long story not so long, Hedges spent the next several years having crazy adventures, discovering uncharted civilizations and uncovering buried treasures across Central America and the Caribbean. He explored ancient ruins and tombs, found sacred artifacts from long-forgotten empires, fought giant beasts, and traveled among the indigenous populations located deep in the forests of Honduras. He frequently reported his tales of daring-do to the paper back in London, and the rare pieces of pottery he dug up were immediately shipped off to the British Museum, where they are still on display to this day. He told fascinating tales of adventure, which oftentimes involved him saving Lady Brown, his adopted daughter, or his beautiful young secretary, Jane Harvey, from imminent peril, like he was fucking Race Bannon fighting off a tribal cannibal war party with a blowgun and poison darts. He was involved in hand-to-hand combat with jaguars, giant scorpions, poisonous snakes, and bloodthirsty bears, and one time he even claimed to have taken out a vicious, oversized carnivorous iguana with a hunting knife. He discovered the Mayan ruins of Lubatan, documented the bizarre rituals of a tribe of cannibals, and recovered priceless pieces of great architectural significance. He was also a master fisherman. Yep, during his days in the Caribbean, he would sail out in a crappy wooden canoe and use a rod and reel to haul in massive stingrays, marlins, and swordfish. In his well-illustrated book, Battles with Giant Fish, Mitchell Hedges claims to have reeled in a 31-foot sawfish and says that he once caught a 700-pound man-eating killer shark off the coast of Jamaica. While living on the island of Brotan, he accidentally dug up 3 chests of buried pirate treasure filled to the top with gold doubloons. Now fabulously wealthy and incredibly well known for his amazing exploits, Mitchell Hedges bounced around the world, living in places such as Hollywood, London, New York, and Paris. In the 1930s, he had a Sunday night radio show in New York where he would tell amazing stories about his adventures in Central America. And in 1954, he wrote and published Danger, My Ally, his very modest book about his superhuman exploits. And this is where the story really begins, for it was in this book that he first mentions the Skull of Doom. In his book, he describes the crystal skull as being at least 3,600 years old, although no one has any idea how in the hell he arrived at that conclusion. But he went on to say that it took 150 years to form the carving by rubbing it down with sand, although there was never any writings, stories, or hieroglyphs depicting this act by natives. At any rate, he said, and I quote,
"It is stated in legend that it was used by a high priest of the Maya to concentrate on and will death. It is the embodiment of all evil. Several people who have cynically laughed at it have died. Others have been stricken and become seriously ill." As far as
where he came by the skull, Mr. Hedges wrote, and I quote,
"How it came into my possession, I have reason for not revealing."
And that was pretty much it. So it looks like our hero was decidedly cryptic about his little bauble. The publishers were even more so, since the first edition of his book was the only one that even mentioned the damn thing. Fortunately for us, his stepdaughter was a little more forthcoming with its fantastic discovery.
End of Part 1.